we actually want to go through, and I know that we offer 4 different head units, source units, media centers, I guess is what we really call them. What we'd like to do is step through and have you kind of walk us through a KMC2 versus a KMC3. What's the feature set? What's the differences? What is there a step-up feature from a 2 to a 3? Show us a KMC4. What's the step-up features there? What do I get over a KMC2 or 3? And then finally, the big dog, which is the KMC5, which the KMC5, I mean, it amazes me how much is packed into a radio that literally is just in a tube sticking out the back.
It's crazy. And water resistant.
and water resistant, definitely, you know, the IP rating on there. So if you don't mind, what I'd like to do is let's get you around the front of the table. Let's do a rundown.
Means I have to get up.
You have to get up. We're going to shuffle you off to Buffalo. We're going to move John around to the front of the table, and we're going to have him go through the feature sets on the radio. We'll get him set up so that Tim can get some good close-up shots, and he can.
Have your trash.
You can see what's going on.
Here we are on the Marine Source radios. So we offer, as Kip said, we offer 4 different models of Marine Source units. We have the KMC2, KMC3, KMC4, and the KMC5, for those of you that can count from 2 to 5. So we start out with the basic, the KMC2. And once again, all these radios are IP rated. They're going to work great. They're designed to be out in the weather all the time. And the unconventional face size, I mean, it's not your standard DIN or double DIN. So a lot of the hot rod builders like these because they're different, they're unique, and actually a little narrower than a standard DIN radio, so they actually fit in a lot more applications. But the KMC2 is an awesome little radio. Obviously, it's AM, FM. It does have auxiliary input and Bluetooth input, and it's got a USB input. So great little unit, 25 watts by 4. It's 4 ohm stable, designed to run 4 speakers. It does have a pair of RCA outputs, so this is where we start. And if you notice, it's got this nice little black face, a little bit of chrome around the knob. If you like the chrome look, it also comes with one of these. Kip, this is not a little bracelet, but this is a little fancy trim ring that if you want the chrome look, it just snaps over the top. So it gives you the option for the style you're looking for. Do you want it flashy and chrome, or do you want it kind of monochrome and black? So
good feature.
We give you some, some options. Now, here's the really big difference between the KMC2, the KMC3. They have basically exactly the same features with the exception of one minor difference. Can you guess what that is, Kip?
Well, I don't want to give it away to the audience, but I'm going to guess between the two that it's probably the geometric shape of the face.
Yes, that is the only difference. And once again, the 2 is round, the 3 is square.
And when you say that, literally, they are identical feature set, identical power.
25 watts by 4, RCA output, USB input, remote capability, for an analog remote, which we'll talk about in a minute.
Sure. If we can, and it doesn't matter where you do the 2 or 3, maybe we get Tim on camera 1 to do a close-up of one of the radio face. Can you go through, show us the different sources that are available, show us what's in the menu, show us the controls that are in there that actually show up on the screen?
Sure, absolutely. You're actually seeing this as you look at the display right now. I can tell you it's playing our USB drive right now because it's actually telling us what the track is. So that's another cool feature for our, starting point on our Marine media centers, is it's going to tell you the track information. But if we go back here to source, push the button, it'll take you into the auxiliary input. I push it again, there's your FM input. Push it again, it's going to take you to AM. And one more push is going to take me to Bluetooth, and that's where you would pair your phone or your Bluetooth device to it. So it does have streaming capability. Another push on that will take us right back to the USB drive. So it does give you, 5 different choices for source. So you should never be without music.
So you've got obviously those different input sources on there, John. Obviously you can see there's track up, track down, forward and backward for tuning on the station. All those standard features are on there. But what about audio control features like balance, fader, and all that?
Yep, we haven't got there yet, but we're going to do that really soon. So in the menu functions, once again, you got the pairing functions in the menu for the Bluetooth pairing. So once again, if we hold this button down, we'll go back to the standard display, which will tell us the track and the length. If we go back to the volume control and push the volume button in, you see it lit up bass. So now we have +7 to -7. We'll take it back to 0. Push the volume selector button in again, treble control.
Sure.
Push it in again. Actually let it pause too much, and now you have your balance and your fader. So very simple to operate. You push it a third, or actually that's about a fifth time, it goes back to the EQ button. If you notice, it returns back to its original menu if you leave it set for too long. But if I go to the EQ, I can actually have different pre-programmed equalization settings. I can have a user setting, a classic setting, rock setting, pop setting, flat. So you get many different settings you can select to listen to, or you can actually adjust the bass treble to your own liking.
Now, just to clarify on that so everyone has a good understanding, because I mean, diving deeper into these and having them up here and running is I think helpful, is on that EQ, if you're using one of the other preset EQs like the vocal or the pop, or if you're using that, the bass and treble controls are defeated,
yes,
correct?
I mean, they are basically taken out of the menu. That way it doesn't get too confusing. You don't overdrive a speaker or damage a speaker because you've got too much tone adjustment. That was the old thing with a lot of the radios. You boost the bass all the way up, and then you hit the loudness button and crank it up and wonder why your speakers are smoldering in the door panel.
Well, the reason I bring that up real quickly is I was actually just cruising through our Facebook chat feed, and this is probably about a week or so back, and a gentleman actually said, I think my KMC3, was a 2 or 3, said, I think it's broken. The bass and treble are grayed out. I can't access them. And I said, hey, you're probably using one of the preset EQs. Go turn it to user, and then the bass and treble. And he, about 5 minutes later, came back and said, oh, that fixed it, thanks.
Yeah.
So it's just a thing to point out is if you're using any of the preset EQs, the bass and treble become non-functional because it's using the built-in EQ.
Yep, and that's the whole advantage of having the built-in EQs. You don't have to mess with those.
There you go.
And you see a lot of that. I mean, I've over the years, had people complain, hey, my whole left channel went out. And it's like, have you checked the balance? How do you do that?
Exactly.
And it's very, very seldom. I mean, the 42 years I've been doing car audio, I don't think I can name more than 1 or 2 cases where one channel only has gone out. It's usually all or nothing. So if you're missing either the front or the rear or the left or the right, check your user settings. That's probably where your problem's going to be, or a connection.
True. So as far as feature set, is there anything else in the 2 or 3, or is that pretty well covered?
That is exactly the difference, round versus square.
Round versus square and the full feature set. Okay, so if we step out of the 2 and the 3, which are basically the same radio, just different geometric face, where do we go?
Now we're going to go up to the 4. So obviously after 3 becomes 4. Now we got a whole different ball game over here. The 4 is only available in square. It does have either a black or a chrome trim ring, but you notice right away the difference in the display. We have a full color display, which is about 2 inches by 3 1/4 inches. It's high resolution. It's going to tell you the artist, the track, the album, what track number. If you have the repeat on, it'll tell you the time it's playing. It really has a lot of really nice features, and that's just on the front of the radio. So one of the other advantages to this unit, as we go through and start hitting the source button, as I kill the power by holding it, you got to do that once in a while. Let's shut it off to reset it just to have some fun. It'll light up KICKER. So as we push the source, it's going to say auxiliary input. It's going to give you a little diagram of your auxiliary, that's the RCAs and the 3.5. I push it again, we have FM. Push it again, we have our AM. I push it again, I got something called WB. What do you think WB means, Kip? And it's not Warner Brothers.
Wide borders.
Yeah, you're close. How about weather band?
I like that. If I'm out on a boat, I would like to know what the weather's doing because I've seen some scary stuff.
Yeah, that's the key. So it actually has weather band built right into it, which is, it's designed for the marine environment. You get offshore and, those storms can come up pretty darn quick and they can be pretty dangerous. So weather band is an additional feature, additional source on this unit. So it'll give you everything from USB, auxiliary input, and then you've got your weather band, you have your AM and your FM. I mean, what more do you need, guys?
Color display. Do you pick up any extra RCA outputs or capability there?
Yes, we're getting there as well.
Okay.
So now we have, once again, 25 watts by 4 in the output at 4 ohms. This is now stable to 2 ohms. So now you can actually run 2 speakers on each output as long as they're a 4 ohm speaker. So it's going to do about 40 watts by 4 at 2 ohms. 36 is, I think, what we rated at.
Okay.
So, and that's at 2 ohms. And I do get a front and rear preamp output. So now you have your fader capability from the preamp, not just the speaker level output. So that's a step up feature, but we're even going to add some more. We're going to add a subwoofer output in this unit. So we have front, we have rear, we have subwoofer. Is that it?
You tell me, John.
Nope. We're going to add a zone 2. So you actually have zone 2 capability from this unit. So now I actually have the ability to control the volume from a completely separate zone. So zone 2 would be like if you have a cabin underneath, that could be zone 2, or if you want to use your towers up above for zone 2. So you have the capability to adjust between the front, the rear, zone 1, and zone 2, all independently. And like I say, the 2 ohm stability on the speaker output is really handy as well, having a little bit more power to drive some more speakers.
So obviously you said you're going to pick up the weather band, which is huge. You're going to pick up an extra RCA output.
Yep, the rear.
You're going to pick up sub out.
Yep.
You're going to pick up zone 2 out.
Zone 2 output.
So that's a lot of RCA outputs to pick up in a radio.
Yeah, there's a wad of wires coming out of the back.
There's a snake here in the back. He wants out. So what's next on that radio? Do you have something else you're going to talk? Because what I wanted to ask you to do is kind of go into the menu or just and show us how it looks and get some close-ups on the camera.
Yeah, so this thing actually really is really nice. So if we push the base, you notice how crisp that display is. It's got an absolutely beautiful looking display.
He's going to hold on a second so Timmy can come in and get a close-up on that. There you go. Oh, yeah, that's gorgeous.
Yeah, so balance, and of course your fader, and then your EQ. Here again, that's where we can turn the EQ on and off, the different settings by turning the dial, which once again, custom is where you can preset, program your own equalization, or you have your rock setting, pop, classical, correct, flat. And we'll go ahead and leave the EQ off. Push this again. Now if I'm going to push and hold this button, now I've gone into a menu, so I can have the beep on or off. I have a loudness on or off. I have an area USA, and that's for the tuner, because USA and European tuners are completely different. And it went back to its other mode after I let it sit for too long. Zone 2, I can turn zone 2 on and off now. So if I have zone 2 off, it will not allow me to access the volume control for zone 2 because it's not needed. Here's the really interesting one. Zone 2, relative or absolute? Now, what do you think that means? Because that's
I have some relatives that visit that require some absolute, but that's a different story.
Not only that, you absolutely want them not to be relatives. So the difference between relative and absolute, and it's kind of hard to explain, and we're going to actually go to the camera here so you can see. I'm going to use my hands as visual representation. So absolute, we have zone 1 and zone 2. So you can do zone 2 or you can do zone 1. So you have an absolute control over each zone. Relative means if I set zone 1 a little bit higher than zone 2, as I turn the volume up, they're going to track together till you reach the top or the bottom of the volume control. So that's a relative. So it's going to track zone 2 relative to zone 1, whether it's louder or softer. So that's the difference between relative and absolute. So when it's in relative, as you turn the volume control, it's going to control all the RCA outputs to some extent. If you have an absolute, if you turn the volume up without getting into zone 2, it's only going to turn up zone 1. Or if you actually take the dial and push it in and go to zone 2, it's only going to turn up the volume for zone 2. So it controls absolutely one or the other.
You know, RX Boom, I pulled this comment up here because I think this is important. He says, I will say the mounting, connection, and setup of these head units is extremely pleasant from an installer perspective. Sometimes you just got to take a body saw to the boat and cut out holes. You know, the thing that, and that's why we've done this the way we have, is square hole saws don't work real well.
I've tried.
They work horribly. I mean, I've tried the square chainsaw hole opener, and it's a little hard to control. It gets a little rugged.
You know, what's really interesting, though, just as a side note, just for fun, they do actually make square hole saws for drywall. I just actually saw this a couple years ago.
Exactly what you're
Those
talking about.
are actually kind of cool for cutting the outlet plate out for an outlet. So those are kind of nifty.
So that is a good comment there. Someone wants KFC instead of a pizza dinner. We'll have to see what we can do about that at a later show. 25 Hertz Life, he's always wanting to push the envelope there. So on the 4, any other features that you feel are relevant to talk about? That
really pretty much lines it up. It's a great unit, and we're talking about, without, giving it all away, the mount, all of these units mount in a 3-inch hole.
I just thought with RX Boom bringing that up, it was a good time to talk about that feature.
Exactly.
On that.
So, no matter which unit you pick out, you drill the same size hole, they're all going to fit.
Marcus Nance, yes, these head units can be used in Jeeps and other off-road use. I mean, we call them our marine source units or marine media units, but these radios are finding their ways into ATVs, UTVs, Jeeps, any other vehicle like that. They're finding their ways into a lot of custom rods and custom car builders because they want to keep the dash as stock as possible. They can take this radio and incorporate it into a center console or hide it in a glove box, or as John can testify to, many other locations. Yes, so this is it's a standard 12-volt source unit. You can use it in anything out there that runs on 12 volts. So there you go.
Cool. Shall we keep going?
Keep going. Power output, did you cover on that?
Yes, we sure did. 25 watts at 2 ohms by 4.
Okay.
And about 36 watts at 2 ohms into 4 channels as well.
Okay, fantastic. So if we move from the 4, what's the next step?
Probably the 5. So once again, we noticed the 5 is going to give you even a better looking display, even more crisp and high definition. I think that's actually a 1080p display.
Before you move on to that, real quick, I'm going to interrupt you.
Sure.
This away. So Andy Otwell says, what is the Bluetooth range strength of the unit? And I know that these, we've done a lot of work on that. And I would say that if you're in a typical 30-foot boat, you're going to get anywhere on the boat, no problem.
Yeah, I mean, we've tested them, 100 plus feet away. Now that's not, the standard, or, I mean, we've actually had them, 130 feet that they've worked, but that's in ideal conditions.
No bodies in the way.
Right, and the big thing with Bluetooth, just like, an FM radio transmission, is you can't try to broadcast through metal or concrete. Those are the biggest ones that really block, and your body will block it somewhat.
Bluetooth, when it comes to your body, will block a lot more Bluetooth than you think, but I've seen these current generation radios on pontoons and in boats, in the 23 to 30 foot class, and you can be anywhere on that boat with your phone and you can stream to it. I haven't seen any problems. You get 2 or 3 bodies directly in line of sight between you and the radio, you might start getting some stuttering or issues like that, but that's just inherent in Bluetooth.
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing to do with, anything we've done. It's just, it's not. Is it one of your favorite mediums, Kip? Is it really?
Ask me what I like about Bluetooth.
Yeah. What do you like about Bluetooth?
Absolutely nothing.
Yep.
And we'll get more to that later, hopefully.
Yeah, convenience, but
convenience. That's the only thing to like
about
Bluetooth.
That's the only thing you like.
So go on. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that was a good question.
All right, here we go. Back up to the KMC5. Now, this one actually adds a couple other features, which is really nice. It's still going to be 2 ohm stable, and it's not powered into 2 channels, Kip. It's not powered into 4 channels. How much power do you think this thing has?
I would be letting the cat out of the bag because I work here, but what's really cool about that radio is it comes with an onboard 6-channel amplifier.
Yep, it's got a powered Zone 2. So, like I say, it's even a little bit more power output than Zone 1. But this unit is going to be rated at 25 by 4 at 4 ohms, 40 by 6, it's 25 by 6 at 4. See, I even forget. That's how unique it is. When does the red tooth come out? It comes out with the snaggle tooth.
I had to put that one up.
Yeah, that was nice. So yeah, it's actually 25 by 6 at 4 ohms and then 40 watts by 6 at 2 ohms. So this one actually has that powered second zone output. So that makes it really nice. And it's actually got a Class D amplifier built in. So it's really a true 6-channel amplifier.
Well, going to Class D on that is how we were able to get 6 channels in that same package content.
And keep it that small.
And 25 hertz to life, yes, as we said before, you can install these in your car, absolutely. These run on a standard 12-volt electrical system. You can absolutely use these in your car.